Hi everyone. In my today's session, I'm going to cover the topic of nullable types in C Sharp. Very simple and easy to understand feature provided in C Sharp. Okay, a nullable value type T question mark represents all values of its underlying value type T and an additional null value. Okay, so for example, you can assign any of the following values to a bool question mark or a nullable bool variable true, false, or null. Okay, so it's like providing a null option, providing a null value for a built-in primitive types or a value types. Okay, so an underlying value type T cannot be nullable value type by itself. And one more constraint is that whatever value type you would like to make it a nullable type, it should not be a nullable by itself. Okay, it should be a primitive type. Any null-level value type is an instance of the generic system dot null-level of T structure. Okay, so basically it all deals with your value types, not a reference type. So any null-level value type which we create, like int question mark, double question mark, decimal question mark, is an instance of the generic system dot null-level of T. Okay. So you can refer to a nullable value type with an underlying type T in any of the following interchangeable forms. Okay, so nullable of T you can specify, that is the class, nullable class, or T question mark, easier syntax. You typically use a nullable value type when you need to represent undefined value of an underlying value type. For example, a boolean or a bool variable can only either be true or false. However, in some applications, a variable value can be configured undefined or missing. For example, a database field may contain true or false, or it may contain no value at all, that is null, if you have made it a null column or nullable column in your database table. Okay, so in such scenarios you can use the bool question mark type in that scenario, so that when it is received in your poco classes, it will be represented by a null value if there is no value available. Okay, there are a lot of scenarios, and one most important scenario is the database only. Okay, there are most of the cases we don't know what is the value for a column. Okay, in such cases we basically, when we declare a table, right, we make it a null table. We basically make that column as null. Okay, yeah. And also there are scenarios, for example, for a checkbox. Okay, either it can be selected, it can be unselected, or it can be in a pristine state, so nothing has been done, it's the first time loaded. So there are a lot of such scenarios where we need to represent the third state. Okay, so this third state is basically we can represent using this nullable types. Okay, so let's have a look at an example now. Nullable types. So what is the syntax? Very simple. Double question mark pi. You assign the value. It's like the primitive types only. Just a question mark. Adding a question mark will make it a nullable type. Okay. Or you can declare as this also. Just for your information, nullable of. You can do it as char. Okay. Easier is question marks notation. Okay. So that's what. So you can declare like that, and yeah, you can have a value in a primitive type int m2 equal to 10, and you can directly assign it to a nullable type is equal to m2. Okay, and you can make an array of nullable type. Basically you can make an array itself a nullable type. That's what. So int question mark, if you create an array, and if you create an array with 10 elements, then all these 10 elements can be assigned integer value or null value. Okay, so all these things are possible. So how to get the value? Very simple. If I have a variable int question mark a, nullable a equal to 42, then very simple thing, I can very easily check if a is int. Basically using the is operator, if a is a int, then put that value into value of a. Okay, so if a is int, put that value of a, which will be a int type. Okay, this is a new syntax introduced by C sharp. So if a is int, put that integer value into value of a, and if you print this, you will get the value, the a's value is 42. Otherwise it will say it doesn't have any value if you have assigned null. Okay, then one more, there are two more useful properties, the has value and value props. So instead of this notation, you can basically yeah, you this, instead of using this syntax where you involved is, right, you can make use of this one also, which is dealt using this has value and value property. So nullable b of equal to 10, and if b dot has value, print the b dot value. Okay, you can check this property will tell you whether b has a value, this nullable type has a value or not. If it has, then you just use the value property, it will print the value. Okay, checking for nullability and default value. Yes, we can do that. So suppose AA is a nullable type assigned a value 28. So int bb equal to, how we can check if it has a proper value or null. Okay, if it is null, then use -1. Okay, we can use the if null operator, double question marks. Okay, if AA is null, then use -1, otherwise use AA's value. So in this case, it will print BB's value as 28 because it has a valid value. Now see the same example here. Int question mark c equal to null, int d equal to if c is null. Okay, if c is null, then use get value or default. So in this case, c is null. That's why it will return gets the value or default value of that particular type, which is 0 for integer. Okay, how to check whether a type is a nullable or not? Okay, now given a type, okay, given a type to you in the type class, basically in a type class variable. So how will we check that? So using the nullable dot get underlying type. So using the nullable class, which provides get underlying type method. Okay, to that you pass your type. Okay, and if it is not equal to null, then it's a nullable type. If it is null, then yes, it is not a nullable type. So that is the example. If you pass int question mark using the type of operator which returns the type, basically, so it will return it's a nullable type. If you just pass int, then it is returns it's a non-nullable value. Okay, boxing and unboxing, very simple. Int x equal to 41, for example, in our case, object x box equal to you, assign the x. And how can we cast it, how can we uh, unbox it in as a nullable int? Very simple. Int question mark x nullable equal to, in the square brackets, the way how we used to specify other types, instead of the just primitive types, we will specify int question mark x box. So that should return me the nullable representation of my boxed value. So here I am unboxing it. What else? Object a nullable boxed equal to x nullable. Again, I'm assigning to this. Yeah, there's two ways to do that. One is you can make use of this. Okay, the casting operator inside of brackets you can use, or you can make use of this a nullable box equal to x nullable you assign, and you can check for the int. Okay, if a nullable box is int, then insert its value into value of x variable, which is of type integer. Okay, if it is true, then it will, you will get the value of x having the x nullable's value, otherwise it won't get anything. Okay, when used in expressions. Okay, for example, in case of nullable operators, this is a very interesting thing. Suppose an expression contains two operators. Okay, it may be arithmetic, multiplication, anything. So in case of nullable operators or nullable types, if any of the nullable variable holds a value of null in an expression, there are two operands. Okay, out of any two operands, okay, or out of any n operands, any one of the operands value is null, then entire expression value will be evaluated to null. Okay, so if you do plus plus, has a value, so it will be incremented to 11 and 11 will be printed. But over here, when you do into nn, whereas nn is null, so this particular returns a null value. Okay, so let me run the program now. So we can see here. Okay, let's start from here. A was assigned a value of 42. So if a is a int, then insert its value into variable value of a. So that's what happened. A is 42. Okay, again same applies for b, but this time with has value and value properties. Okay, if b dot has value, yes, b has 10, so that's why b is value 10. Checking for nullability and default value. Okay, that we can check. See, AA is assigned a value of 28. So when I checked for a null operator, when I checked it with the if null operator, double question mark. Okay, because it was having a value of 28, so same 28 value has been returned from AA into the expression. sorry, the same value has been assigned to value bb. Okay, yeah, that's why the value of bb over here, bb is 28. Now here int question mark c equal to null, and when we checked for the if null operator using the null operator or if null operator, two double question marks for c, it returned, because c was having a value of null, it returned get value or default. So default of int is 0, so that's why d is 0. Okay, then how to check whether a type is nullable or not? So with example I have shown int question mark, that is an int question mark is a nullable value type, whereas just int is non-nullable value type, which we evaluated making use of nullable dot get underlying type method. Boxing unboxing, you can see the values posted, and expression wise you can see. Okay, see printed a value. Okay, because I did I first used the value of first and then did the plus plus. That's why it will print the value 10. Again, into nn, where nn is null, you can see that has value is returning false. It basically returned a null here. Then plus oo has value. Yes, has a value, oo has a value, so that's why it is true. Okay, very nice feature, guys. I think introduced more than a decade ago. Microsoft is very particular in finding developer friendly constructs in their programming languages, and see how beautiful it is. This kind of constructs are available in other programming languages very lately actually, which C sharp introduced very long ago. Okay, so make use of this particular nullable types whenever you are dealing with business requirements where you are unsure of what value will fill your primitive values. Okay, in such cases you can make use of nullable operators, and one such example is your database column values basically. Okay, which are nullable in nature. Okay, so thank you for listening and have a nice day.